What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Summertime Rendering. This is episode 5, and with me, as always, I have Loosepad.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I did not expect that episode to just escalate that much, just like that.
Based on how last week's episode was, I guess I'm not too surprised. But there was a lot of stuff that just kind of got revealed in this.
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, we finally get know the name of the of the woman in glasses. So her name is Nagamo Ryunosuke, and apparently she's knowledgeable of how to kill shadows and how specifically they work and function.
Well, and also for those who might have forgotten, she's the author of that one story Shin was talking about in the beginning of the series. It was about shadows and like imposters. Which is strangely similar, of course, to what's happening in the anime.
Yeah. So apparently, not Ryunosuke discovers that there was a lot more shadows than just that Mio shadow that she ended up killing. There's, of course, we already know there's that Ushio shadow, but there's also like the shadow of the little girl from back in the funeral. But by the time Shinpei decides to go find out what's happening, like up on the shrine, they like shit.
Well, we should also mention as well, like,
so
the way that you actually kill the shadows, like, because I actually thought she had killed the Mio shadow in the last episode because she blew her head off, but apparently the way to kill the shadows is to actually shoot the shadow itself, and then the shadow will die. And it kind of made sense because, like, I was wondering how the Mio shadow is still alive, but of course then Ryunosuke starts talking about how the shadows, like how you can kind of, I guess, sort of tell the shadows apart from normal people by, like, if you, I guess, inadvertently stepped on their shadow, they would be hurt by it or something like that. So yeah, for the shadows, I guess you have to actually like kill the actual physical shadow and not the I guess the person that it's copying, not their actual body, because apparently I guess their actual body is the shadow itself.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Just to describe how a shadow functions. But yeah, so but as I was saying, once well, actually no, he notices Ushio running up to the shrine, and then he goes up to follow her, and then that's pretty much where hell just breaks loose. But like literally by this, I don't know how long this episode went into the episode, but like he just sees like a whole bunch of dead bodies all around, including a couple of his friends that literally just get killed at that point.
I forget that guy's name, but that one guy is trying to protect Mio from his own shadow, who's about to kill her.
Yeah, his name is So. Yeah. And he gets his head chopped up by his own shadow's axe, and but yeah, it's like there's just a lot of death and destruction in this episode in particular, and like Shinpei tries so hard just to try to save Mio, but she unfortunately gets consumed herself, and then just apparently like everyone on that island ends up getting disintegrated by the shadow. And of course we see like this giant, like physical looking shadow creature that's apparently like is aware of what Shinpei can do, and notices like the discoloration on Shinpei's right eye. Supposedly it is the eye of the shadow's mother.
Yeah, and we also learned that that's because of this eye, that's what makes it so that he can actually go back in time and reset. But yeah, I think it was funny, the analogy that one shadow, like the main, I guess that big shadow had about him being like I guess he compared himself to a 2D character in a video game, gaining awareness of what would happen if the game were turned off or the power were turned off or something like that. I thought that was kind of an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, and we also see the Ushio, who's officially confirmed that she is a shadow, but she herself tries to convince herself that she's human. But the shadow Shinpei tries to call her out by telling her that why would you the arm I broke end up healing so quickly, and that's pretty much officially confirms that she's been a shadow this entire time.
Well, and also
And
the stuff
apparently
she's
with
able to do
the-
later on in the episode as well, like kind of convinces me she's not really human anyway. But yeah, I'm wondering why
Yeah.
she's so different from the other shadows, and why she
Mhm.
is not malevolent to her. She's not trying to harm people, or she's kind of like acting like I'm assuming how she would act when she was still a human.
Mhm. And I'm just curious of like who exactly killed the real Ushio, because if I don't know, it's hard to say. I mean, it could have been the actual shadow Ushio, but it could have been like a different shadow altogether. But we still don't know like the full story of what actually happened to the real Ushio. So Ryunosuke, like she tries, I guess she tries to kill the giant shadow, but unfortunately, like she only has like 2 bullets left, and no, I think she used like one of the bullets on on the shadow, and then she only had that 1 bullet left.
Mhm.
She tried to use it on the giant shadow, but unfortunately, the giant shadow ended up mimicking her shotgun, so the shadow ended up shooting her instead.
Yeah, that kind of
But
surprised me, to
I
be
don't- I
honest.
don't-
But I mean, we do know that I think
I also
shadows
know-
can, they can like copy weapons. I think, right? Like, I think we have seen them do something
Yeah.
like that before.
There's another thing I just noticed, like before Ryunosuke got shot, it seems like she remembers of herself getting shot prior, and then like shortly afterwards, she just she tries to dodge the shot, but then she still gets hit in the neck.
Mhm.
So it has to make me wonder that if she's able to loop as well.
Yeah, it is a little bit strange. I mean, we still don't know everything about her. All we know is that she's the author of that book, and that she's aware of, to some extent, of what's going on. And then she tells
Yeah.
Shinpei next time he loops to, like, his first priority is to try to find her and like tell her
Mhm.
who he is.
Yeah, and as soon as like he ends up dying, Ushio tells him that there's a limit to how many times he can really use that power, and we find out that once he loops back, he goes slightly forward in time from where he last looped prior to this.
Yeah. Well, before that too, we should mention there is this other. There's this like girl that's floating in the air the whole time this was happening. I think her name is like Hayne or something like that. But yeah, we don't know. Of course, I'm guessing this is the one they're referring to as mother. So I don't know if she's like the main. I guess technically the creator of the shadows, or their leader or something like that. But we really don't know anything about who she is. She just kind of starts floating in the air. And yeah, I'm really curious about that, because we should also mention too, there was this one character we saw, like, I guess I don't know if he's a doctor or a scientist or something, but he's like watching, like, we see the other characters like watch the girl floating in the sky, or what. Well, they can't really see her, of course, but they see that something floating in the sky, like when they're about to be consumed by the shadow. But one of the characters watching this happen is this, like, I guess this older, like, I guess maybe he's like either a doctor or a scientist, and he said something like he knows, like he might know like who she is or something, and then there's a shadow like sitting behind him in some like a wheelchair. So it was kind of, and the shadow also kind of looked like the one that was on at the festival grounds. So I'm kind of wondering about that. That was kind of weird. Like, I guess maybe they're setting up this character to maybe be a villain or something like that, or maybe just somebody who gets involved later in the plot. Because it seems like he also knows something about what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, like I was saying, Shinpei, of course, ends up looping back to July 22nd. But he ends up starting off like a little bit forward in time compared to the last time he ended up looping.
Yeah, and I think this is because the last time he actually stopped Mio from crashing her bike into the water. So I think that's why he now has like technically a new save point.
Yeah, it seems like I guess it's it kind of builds more tension into how he has to use his looping ability. It's not like similar to to how ReZero does it, in which you end up looping at the same point before succeeding in another. So it's gonna make it a little bit harder for Shinpei to get from point A to point B without screwing things up.
Like with ReZero, it felt like Subaru had to do a lot more before he got to another quote unquote checkpoint. With this, it feels like even like a slight change gives Shin a new checkpoint, it seems. So him just doing like some small thing that changes something, that's like where he starts from.
I'm not sure if like him changing things would even really matter. It's just if he dies one more time, then he'll start forward in another point in time regardless.
It could be that, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think it has anything with anything to do with him like trying to change something. It's just like Ushio said, like he has a limit to how many times he can use that thing. And like, for example, if he keeps dying over and over and over again, then he'll get to the point where he will no longer be able to loop right before the festival massacre happens.
Yeah. Well, and also considering that the what makes it him able to travel through time is that eye of his, I wonder what would happen if like the shadows tried to like pluck his eye out or something. Would they just completely like take away his ability to time travel?
That's what I thought.
I thought that one shadow was about to do that actually when he commented on his eye. I thought he was actually about to take it out, but of course that doesn't happen. But I thought that was that he would have tried to do that. But yeah, like I find it interesting that there's a limit to how many times he can do this. We just don't know like how many times he can actually do it yet. Like as opposed to Subaru, who can just continuously return by death, seemingly just infinitely. I find it interesting that Shinpei, there's actually even more tension with the plot because, there is a limit to it.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, what happens by the end of this episode, we see the shadow Ushio being washed up on the beach, and that's pretty much where the episode ends.
I also think this time around it's going to be more difficult for Shin to try to find Ryonosuke because, like, as opposed to the first couple times he looped, he met her on the ferry, but then after that, like, he doesn't know where she is. So I feel like at least in the next episode, he might start out like trying to find her. Because she said like that's the first thing you should try to do. So I think that's probably what's going to happen, and then or maybe he's try to find Ushio as well because as we know she's already washed up on the shore.
Well, he doesn't even know that.
Well, yeah, he does.
Unfortunately,
so. But he does know that Ushio is still running around somewhere supposedly.
Yeah,
but.
Well, as for the Ryonosuke part, he knows from the prior loop that she never checked into any hotel or inn on the island. So he it was just like pure luck that Ryonosuke ended up saving him at the end of the last episode. So like he's gonna need to find out exact try to like get on her trail of sorts if he's able to try to find her.
Yeah. But I thought this was a pretty good episode. Definitely, these episodes have been pretty consistently good. I mean, I was kind of surprised at how much stuff ended up getting revealed in this episode. It seems like it's a pretty fast-paced show. So I'm kind of wondering at how much there is still yet to be revealed. And considering this is a full season, I'm wondering like how much that we still don't know about.
I mean, there's 20 episodes left, and this episode just literally felt like some kind of like half season, like at the end of the court type, episode of sorts.
Well, yeah, with all that
like,
happened, like it really did feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm really loving how this show is unfolding, and I'm curious to find out like how how Shinpei is going to end up moving forward after what the hell he just witnessed.
Yeah, I guess it's really anyone's guess as to what might happen in the next episode. But I'm really liking this show so far. Like I just find it funny that of all the services, this is gonna be on Disney Plus eventually. With all the, especially in this episode, this is probably the most brutal out of all the episodes because of all the death and all the like this probably has the most gore out of all of them for sure. So it's kind of funny to think that this is gonna go on Disney Plus. I don't know if they are actually choosing to censor this, like how in the hell they would try to do that, considering.
I'm curious to know if like Disney really even knew what kind of show they were getting.
I'm almost convinced they didn't know. Like that would be more believable to me that they didn't know what they were getting into. And kind of like the situation with the interspecies reviewers and like Funimation picking that up and then like dropping it or whatever because they didn't know what show they were getting they were actually doing. It might be that way with Disney Plus getting this series. Maybe they were under the assumption this was just going to be like some kind of a slice of life or something like that, and they didn't actually know what it was.
Unless
yeah.
I mean, unless they had some Japanese interpreters like doing research on this show, like the year after this came out, like the year after the manga finished, like back early last year. Just like I'm curious if if they got the information from them. Unless they didn't, like I said, it's hard for me to really even know that Disney really even knew about this show to begin with or what the story was.
Yeah,
because the manga is not going to be out in stateside starting probably by the end of this month to the end. I think somewhere around by the end of fall.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was this month, and then like sometime in August they were gonna have most of the volumes available. But anyway, I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. There's definitely a lot of questions it brings up, and I mean, it gives us some answers, but then just even more questions. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Well, they're really ramping up the pressure. The more of these episodes come out, and I'm curious to see whether or not they're going to end up slowing down a bit, or they're just going to, keep pumping things out like in a more intense manner, like they did just these past 3-4 episodes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they keep the same pace or not, because I mean, it's just kind of been going full speed ahead. Really, like there's not really been a lot of downtime or anything like that. But yeah, I'm very interested to see what developments end up happening in the next episode. And so that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.